Hi, everybody. Welcome to our exciting webinar today. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We're going to give everyone just a second to join who's been in the waiting room or is tuning in from their desks, wherever you may be. Thank you guys for joining. If you are joining, then you probably already know, but I'm going to talk about where you can find Bandwango really quickly. So you can find us online at bandwango.com. We actually are launching a brand new website next month, so I'm super excited about that. If you want to keep your eyes peeled for that. That's a labor of love from my department. But you can also find us on LinkedIn and Facebook, and actually we have a YouTube channel. So if you enjoy this webinar and you want to share it with anybody else, it will be uploaded onto our YouTube page. So keep your eyes peeled for that. If you haven't, go ahead and sign up for our newsletter. It goes out every single month at the end of the month, and you'll see all of our new exciting case studies, blogs, and upcoming webinars that you can tune into. Today, we are joined by two of our wonderful clients. We have Caitlin and Demi joining us from Visit Eau Claire and Experience Columbus, and they're going to tell you guys a little bit about how they've built their Bandwango initiatives, what's worked really well for them, and what they've learned along the way. Then we're going to get into some exciting Q&A afterwards. So if you are familiar with our system, please feel free to enter in questions in the chat or the Q&A section. I'm happy to answer those in either of the places that you can put them. And there will be some Q&A at the end, but don't feel like you have to hold your questions in. If you have a question while Demi or Caitlin are presenting, then please feel free to go ahead and chime in on that chat or Q&A. So with all that said, we're going to kind of kick things off with Demi first. Demi's going to tell us a little bit about how Visit Eau Claire came to be a Bandwango client and what they're doing that's exciting and creative with our system. So with all that being said, I'm going to kick it over to Demi. Demi, if you want to introduce yourself really quick, and I'll pull up your slides so that we can get going.
Awesome. Thanks for the introduction, Emily. Hi, everyone. My name is Demi. I am with Visit Eau Claire. I'm their senior marketing manager. For those who might not know where Eau Claire is, we're on the northwestern side of Wisconsin, about an hour and a half from Minneapolis. I've been with Visit Eau Claire a little over 2 years now. And I wear a lot of different hats. You know, us in marketing, we kind of all do, but primarily I work a lot with creating and maintaining the content on our website and social media. In terms of different passes that we've done so far, so actually I think like this month, it's been a year since we actually signed a contract with Bandwango. And since then we've launched 5 passes total. So it's kind of been like nonstop. We launched our first one back in June when we signed, and it was the horseradish hop. And that one was kind of in collaboration with a large event that we had in town, Farm Technology Days. The event took place at Silver Springs. And if you guys aren't familiar, Silver Spring is actually the largest grower and processor of horseradish in the entire world. So we kind of wanted, to take that horseradish culture of ours and create it into an experience. So that's how the horseradish hop came to be. But then after that one, we launched the brew pass, and then the curd crawl, and then our O Snow winter challenge. And then most recently, we just launched our Eau Claire Essentials pass last in May. And what that one is, it's essentially, no pun intended, a pass that allows you to experience an Eau Claire summer like a local. So like this bucket list of all the things that you have to do if you're here in the summer. And all of them have been free to sign up for. They're all gamified with prizes as well. And we've loved doing each and every single one of them. You could see on the slides I'll go through, but I just wanted to give you guys a visual of each of the different passes brand identities. So I can go through those as I speak as well. In terms of audience focus, we've seen a majority of our current pass holders be from Wisconsin, and a majority of them are locals within the Chippewa Valley. When I say Chippewa Valley, that's Eau Claire in like a 20-mile radius. After Wisconsin, we've seen success with Minnesota, and it makes sense because we are within driving distance of them. So we do see a lot of day trippers who are looking for different kinds of experiences as well. But when it comes to advertising, we do advertise to our surrounding states in the Midwest. So all of Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, and Illinois. And we've seen success and redemptions from all the states, including some that have been complete surprises like Georgia, for example. So that's been awesome. In terms of redemption methods that we've used, so the first 3 that we launched, Horseradish Hop, Brew Pass, and Curd Crawl, those all were PIN code based. And so we worked with our partners to give them unique 4-digit PIN codes, and we provided them with signage of what their PIN codes are, and made it very easy for them on their end to know what those were, and in case customers were looking for them, how they could access those. And then the last 2 that we've launched, the Oh Snow Winter Challenge and Eau Claire Essentials, those have been geo-based check-ins because the locations on those passes weren't like buildings or doors that you could walk through and talk to a staff member if you needed a code. There's a lot of parks involved and just general areas. So we thought that going geo-based was the best option for us. We have asked Van Wingo if there's a possibility to do geo and PIN code within the same pass. And unfortunately there isn't. I guess it could be a wish list item for us though. In terms of goals for our passes, I'd say we have 2, but they're kind of similar. So one big one, we want visitors and locals to get out about into our community and experience the things that make Eau Claire, Eau Claire. And I put emphasis on locals as well, because I feel like there might be DMOs out there that might think that, oh, if your pass is a majority of local people, then is your money really going as far as it should be with Van Wingo in terms of using these passes to get visitors here and heads in beds? While revenue and like heads in beds obviously is important to us, considering that's how we make our money, it's not Visit Eau Claire's mission. Our mission overall is to provide value to our community and our partners, and creating these Van Wingo passes has allowed us to do so. So with people going out and experiencing this, they kind of become like little local influencers for us, and they help us get the word out about Eau Claire as well. And apart from that, just being able to provide numbers to our local businesses of, hey, with this initiative, Visit Eau Claire has helped drive X amount of people through your doors, and these people have spent actual money with you. These Van Wingo passes have allowed us to create ways for people to invest into our local economy as well. So those are our 2 kind of one big goal with every pass that we have launched. In terms of results, each pass has been different, and we've learned something different from each pass as well. The one that we've been most successful with has definitely been our Curd Crawl. And something, and I don't know if there's any Wisconsin clients on the call, but something that helped us was that we were the first Wisconsin DMO to do something with the dairy cheese niche. So that definitely helped us be successful. But that week that it launched, we actually had a pretty large influencer in town. He's a Wisconsinite. His name's Charlie Behrens, if you guys are familiar with him. But he was doing like a comedy show at our art center, and his opening lines was something to the effect of like, I've never been to a city with its own like curd crawl. This is amazing. So from then on, it was just like, okay, like this is going to be awesome. And we got a lot of press coverage just from that alone, which helped us, really advertise this and make it as big as it got. But like I said, every single pass has been different. And we, if a pass has less signups than another one, we don't necessarily consider it a failure, because like I said, each pass has its own different brand identity. And that's what really we try to go for with that. What would we have done differently? It's not that we would have done it differently, but these discussions of what will we do differently as we launch more passes with Van Wingo is taking a little bit more of a deeper dive into how we're going to access prize fulfillment. So when the pandemic happened, our visitor center closed down and we just didn't open it back up. And so having people come pick up their prizes from a visitor center isn't necessarily an option for us. So with all of our passes, we've been shipping out the prizes. And because of the success of all of our passes, mailing on our budget has gotten pretty high. And in the words of our executive director, it's a good problem to have. But it's definitely started the conversation of how can we do this differently? And it gets us thinking about, okay, we need to pick prizes that are going to be easy to ship and not as costly. And even discussions about, hey, can we get a partner involved and have them be a pickup spot, but not make it too hard on them? So as we move forward and grow with Bandwingo, that's definitely something that we're keeping at the top of mind. And I hope you guys take that as a tip from anyone who is launching their passes with Bandwingo. In terms of what we do want to launch next, we're hoping to fit one more pass in before the end of this year. We want to do a fall pass. We did a winter one. We did a summer one with Eau Claire Essentials. And fall here in Wisconsin is just such a beautiful time of year. We do get the 4 seasons, so we want to capitalize on that. And with like orchards and the whole pumpkin patch agriculture type thing, we definitely want to create an experience out of that. So we're hoping to do that. But then another one that we also have on our radar is creating a pass made for large groups coming to town and for big conferences and stuff to kind of encompass all of Eau Claire, not just a specific niche. What is the organization using for first-party data capture for? Obviously, we use the numbers that Bandwingo gives us of, hey, this amount of people checked into this business. And that's been super, super awesome for us to report to our partners because they start to see the value that our DMO brings to them apart from just the day-to-day stuff that we do. But other than that, because of the customer opt-in button when people have to sign up for a pass, we've actually grown our e-newsletter subscription list by like over 1,000 people, which for us is like a huge win because we send out a weekly newsletter, a quarterly newsletter, different types. So we're able now to, re-hit those people and advertise the different and great, amazing things going on in Eau Claire too, apart from just our passes. So we're able to keep those people in our, communication list as well. How are we advertising our passports? Mainly with PPC. We have a PPC specialist with SimpleView, and we mainly do Facebook and Google ads. And we've definitely tried different creative in terms of testing out success, specifically for Facebook as well. We've taken a look at, does a video work best, or does a photo work best, or does a graphic work best? And we found that photo and video win for us. And we're able to work with her to make sure that that content's rotating and it's never getting that like creative fatigue. So we're always trying to stay on top of our toes with switching that out and coming up with different and creative ways to advertise that. I think 3 of our passes we've created promotional videos for, and those have been super fun to do. And I'll probably touch on those later when we get into the Q&A. But so yeah, mainly Facebook and Google. With our curd crawl, we did something different too. We incentivized our partners. So this was a brilliant idea by our director of marketing. She said, what if we send out a digital toolkit to them and, they can compete on whoever gets the most check-ins in X amount of time, they'll win an advertising package with Visit Eau Claire. And those were the businesses that wanted it were the ones that were making their own organic social media posts saying like, hey, come visit us. We're a part of the curd crawl. And that definitely helped us get the word out as well. Apart from any paid media, organic social posts, features in our e-newsletters, we did local press releases for each of our passes as well. And for the passes that did have PIN codes, that signage that exists with the PIN codes, whether it's the table tents or the posters that the businesses have hanging up, obviously those serve as advertisements too, because a family could be out to eat, not for the curd crawl, but they're like, oh, what's this? And then they sign up. So that's been another piece of advertising that has worked for us as well.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think you brought up a ton of really good topics. We'll cover some of them in the Q&A, but do you want to specify what prizes you give out to what winners of what passes?
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of, as I'm cycling through these slides, just so you guys see, I didn't have any visuals from the horseradish hunt because we'll go into that later. We were a very short-staffed team at the time, so we weren't able to really leverage what we can do. So we'll start out with Brew Pass. But for Brew Pass, we did a keychain for 4 check-ins, and then a T-shirt if you did all 8 breweries. And you could see like little prototypes shown on there for those. For Card Crawl, we did something similar. We did a T-shirt. We realized that T-shirts are really big incentivizers for people. Everyone wants a free T-shirt. And then we did a fun little sticker that says, "I crawled for curds in Eau Claire, Wisconsin." With the Oh Snow Winter Challenge, we did stickers for water bottles and laptops and stuff like that. And the stickers say, "There's no place like Eau Claire, Wisconsin." Got a little punny with that one. And then we did fun little hats, like little beanies that fleece in them. So we try to keep on with the winter theme with those. And then with Eau Claire Essentials, this one, because it's the most recent one, it's the one that I feel like I'm most passionate about right now. We have 3 different tangible prizes at the moment. So if you do 3 check-ins, you get the sticker that's on the Yeti cooler. If you do 5, you get this like little retro patch that you could sew on to like a canvas tote, or bringing that vibe back. And then I think it's 10 check-ins, you get the hat. But then there's also a sweepstakes that we're going to be running on. If you get, I think, 15 check-ins, you're entered to win a large prize package that we're doing. And the prize package is a literal 2-person canoe with like a Yeti cooler and Nalgene water bottles and like summer essentials. And actually a couple of weeks ago, we went out and we brought the canoe literally into a lake and shot like a promotional video for it. And our creative manager, Megan, she's in the process of editing that, but that was just a super fun thing that we got to do. And we're hoping to send it to your guys' team once that's done so everyone could see it. But those are some of the prizes that we've done so far.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So thank you so much for that overview. I think everybody is feeling what Allie is feeling from the chat, which is craving cheese curds. We're going to answer some of the other questions from Q&A when we get to that part, but we're going to kind of turn things over to Caitlin really quick so that she can talk a little bit about what Experience Columbus is doing and the exciting passports they've launched with us. So Caitlin, do you want to introduce yourself and take it away?
Sure. Hi, I'm Caitlin Kuthing. I'm the Senior Manager of Digital Marketing and CRM at Experience Columbus. I just celebrated my 1 year with them. I come from a retail background, so this is my first job in the tourism industry, and it's been really fun to work with Banwango because we sort of speak the same language in terms of conversion and ROI, and I think that's really given us a different perspective on how to use our passes. But currently we have passes split between trails, which are our free experiential passes, and then our paid passes. So our paid passes are not gamified, they are discounted. And then our trails are really what we use as a service to our partner organizations. We also brand them in all of our Live Forward branding. So Live Forward is our Experience Columbus brand. And so they are the Columbus Distillery Trail, Columbus Coffee Trail, Columbus Outdoor Pass. And so we make sure that everything that we put out still feels like it comes directly from Experience Columbus. We really focus on leisure travel, but we also service the resident quite a bit. We want to make sure that everyone is sort of developing that emotional connection and loyalty to the city more than, as Demi said, like heads and beds. Like that is an additional benefit, but we really want to build the brand, build the emotional connection, and like that repeat visit. We also have a pass specifically for meetings and conventions travelers or business travelers. And so as we sort of track the data on that, we'll look at getting more specific to that segment. Our digital redemption process is a lot, similar to what Demi said. We use a 4-digit PIN code. We make sure that the, coffee shops, distillers are all labeled with that they're on the trail, and have that signage in store. And then you get your 4-digit code. And then for our sculpture tour and our parks trails, we do the check-in for longitude, latitude, excuse me. Our passes are all measured a little bit differently, but basically we want to make sure that we're inspiring the people of our city, the people who are visiting our city, so they have that engagement, they have that brand awareness, and then our partners also feel supported. We've also really focused on, in the next few years, focusing on the revenue share opportunity, so getting more paid passes up and making sure that we're also servicing those partners in another touch point as well. All of the success that we measure is really focused on the individual pass. We built the Columbus Experience Marketplace with our passes. And when you take a look at that, it's very difficult to compare like the Distillery Trail, which is very unique to Columbus, versus the Outdoor Trails Pass, which is unique to a specific segment. Whereas the Distillery Trail, we're hitting empty nesters, we're hitting business travelers, locals, and so we're able to get a lot more market share of people who are looking at that versus the Outdoor Trails Pass, which is a specific segment of people who want to travel to all of our different parks and use that as a way. But internally, our KPIs have been focused on the number of passes that we have on site. That is changing to really focus on the engagement, the actual sales that we're getting through our paid passes, and then not as easy to track, but building that emotional connection and loyalty, making sure that whatever we put up feels correct, because we all have a lot of really good ideas internally, but we want to make sure that it's something the consumer wants and something they'll use, and it's going to elevate the brand. And then, the last part of that is we have so many other unique ideas based on what the consumers want, but the execution can be challenging. And so making sure that when we're looking at success, we're looking at customer experience first. And if that is not perfect, then we might have an issue there. And that might be what we need to take a look at versus the entire pass itself. For us, innovation is key. We're a really innovative organization and really want to continue to change and grow with the industry. We launched our Live Forward brand during COVID. And so as we grow our passes and have more on site, we want to make sure that they fit into all of our personas. And so making sure that we're launching passes that fit underneath of those 6 personas, and focus on that elevated, very emotional experience. So things like bridal shower passes or restaurant week passes that feature a lot of different types of ethnicities and food, and just showcasing the best that Columbus has to offer is really what we want for a future state. And then using the results that we have to then inform on how we prioritize that. So making sure we're taking into account what everyone is searching on our site, what they're searching on search engines, what they're, where they're abandoning, and using that information to inform, okay, well, which pass do we need next? So we're getting ready to launch a live music pass. And so it'll be a check-in for small venues of live music. But that was something that we noticed a lot of searches were happening on our events page and just on our general search, like, live music tonight, or where can I see live music on Saturday? And so we're like, well, we have to give them a reason to try all of these different places, but also still showcase the partners that have these live music. So making sure we're able to change course, because we were working on a different pass at the time, and we set it aside to be a little bit more efficient, a little bit more nimble, and to sort of follow the data that we were given. I think I skipped around a little bit, but our current strategy and tactics are really, they vary based on the scale of the project. For our Columbus Outdoor Trails Pass, we had obviously like a homepage takeover. We did email, social posts. All of the partners involved will always do a social post, and that is managed through our internal social media team. So they provide the copy, the image, and then the partners post on their own. And then they're also able to post whatever UGC they get or any other organic posts that they want to put up. There's visitor guide placement, visitor center collateral, and then we do a lot of like organic grassroots strategies where we'll bring in travel writers, influencers, and have the trail be part of their itinerary. So, the Outdoor Trails Pass, we could send them to 2 or 3 in a day. The Distillery Trail, we usually save that if they're here for a week, and they'll hit one like every other day. But making sure that they're also promoting it. We also built a trails page on site that really looks and shops like a marketplace or like an e-commerce store. And so it makes it easier for them to find what they're looking for, to just see everything in one place. We partner with RootRes, and they have a direct integration with Bandwango. So through the checkout flow of a hotel room, passes are sold. And then some of our larger scale passes, like a Distillery Trail, there's a lot more money behind that, a lot more like manpower internally and externally. We threw an influencer launch party. We had a lot more ad spend for that one. We did more of like distiller takeovers. And so it would be nice to have that sort of budget for all of the trails, but we really do manage it based on the redemption that we think we'll see.
Awesome. Thank you for that overview. We have a ton of questions to get through, so I'll just pause right here and just remind everyone, if you have questions about what Demi or Caitlin talked about, or just questions in general that you think they could answer for you, please don't be shy about putting them in the chat or Q&A section. We have some questions kind of queued up from their presentations, and also some questions that I'm going to ask them about how their passes have been going. So please feel free to use that chat or Q&A. If you joined us a little bit late, we are talking today to Visit Eau Claire and Experience Columbus about what has made their passes successful, what they're really kind of focused on, or what they've learned along the way. My name is Emily. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Bandwango, so please feel free to ask me any questions as well. But we'll just dive right in. So one thing that I do want to talk about is merchant engagement, because you guys both had a little bit of similar but different tactics to that. So I want to touch on that, because I know that, Demi, that idea that your marketing person came up with of kind of creating like a bonus for really doing a good job of advertising or promoting the passport. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I think creating excitements to entice businesses to be included or promote the passport is always something that people are trying to get more efficient at.
Yeah, so to be honest, before we signed with Bandwango, that was like the first red flag of ours. That was like, oh, our partner is going to be on board with this, and like, can we actually make this worthwhile? Because if we can't get their participation, what's the point? So we do have one of my colleagues, his name is Luke. He's our PR manager, but he works a lot with our partners as well. And he is the person on our team that is tasked with going and pitching this idea to our partners, and then, onboarding them once they're in. And like I said, it's not easy. And in my opinion, it's probably the most challenging part of getting a pass up and running, because there's a lot of skepticism with partners. And with our partners, a key issue has been, and what we're hearing from them is like, well, I already work hard enough. I don't want all this extra work. So our goal with them is we need to make it as easy as possible on them. Like, we need to basically spoon feed them everything that they need, so it's not an extra task for them. And then once these passes have been successful, and once we have tangible numbers to give them, that's when we started to get that buy-in from people. So with the whole incentivizing them to advertise for us, we were offering the top 3 places in terms of check-ins. The first place with the most check-ins got an advertising package valued at $1,000, second place $500, and third place $300. So that really got businesses, wanting to make their own social media posts. And if someone is ordering cheese curds, and be like, hey, did you know we're actually a part of the curd crawl? So that has worked for us. And I will say kudos to Luke on our team. The man is very persistent. He said, I'm getting all these breweries in. If it's not all, then it's nothing. And he did it. So all kudos to him.
Awesome. Caitlin, do you want to talk a little bit about y'all's approach? Because I know Columbus always does a really good job of merchant outreach and onboarding. How do you guys manage that on your team?
Yeah, so I think we're really fortunate in terms of our structure. So I live on the marketing team, and then we have a destination experience team, and then our partnership team functions as marketing as well. And so the 3 of us are very ticked and tied in terms of, this is who we're going after, this is who's a partner, who's not, and then creating that outreach. We've hosted Binwango webinars, which have been very successful. Another big part of how we got partners on board, I think, is we ran a gift guide campaign over holiday and put our passes on the gift guide, our paid ones. And so when that launched, we had a ton of partner outreach. They were like, hey, I saw the application, but I didn't do it. I want to be on it. And so gift guide then became sort of this all year thing. And then we were like, well, when people come to us, well, we have this pass. So are you willing to be on the pass in order to be on this? So there are a lot of different, I think, methods to get partners engaged, but our partnership does a really great team of making sure that partners don't feel sort of left out, that they're always feeling like they know what's going on with us, what opportunities they have. And I think Columbus in general is just a really close city. So, I mean, it's the Columbus way. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think, this kind of goes in line with one of the questions that we got in the chat about seasonal employees for Gulf Shores and Orange Beach. They, struggle a little bit with training people because there's a lot of turnover. And this is something we talk about all the time when it comes to restaurants, because I think turnover in restaurants in particular can be a problem for food passes or check-in challenges and that kind of thing. So I'll answer this question from like my perspective, and then if you guys want to weigh in, please feel free. But how do you inform new employees or train, kind of seasonal employees on a trailer pass? I think to Caitlin's point about some kind of like webinar or training video, that's always helpful to see how a pass works in order to like get really familiar with how to talk about it with other people. So I would say, it's always going to be a challenge to make sure that people are trained up. So one thing I recommend is like having good signage at a location can really kind of help bridge the gap, because even if a new employee doesn't know specifically what the curd crawl is, they at least have like a flyer or a poster where they can be like, I know I've seen something about that around here. Like, let me go see if I can figure it out myself. So that's kind of like one thing that I recommend if you've got a lot of turnover seasonal employees, is signage on site can help a little bit alleviate some of the confusion that happens if people aren't properly trained. The other thing is, just maybe a regular cadence for like checking in with businesses or offering some kind of webinar or tutorial. That might be a really good way for your team to just at least feel like you're doing as much as possible to play a little bit of defense, so the people in those positions know a little bit more than they would otherwise. Demi or Caitlin, do you have anything to add to that on like seasonal employees or how to manage training if there's high turnover at one of your locations?
Yes. So one of the things that we've done is in our partner newsletter specifically, there are links to short training videos. And then we also, our partnership team, we have a retention specialist who is in constant contact with them. I agree with your point about signage. I think, you know, the email has really helped. And her name is Olivia on our team, on the partnership team. She's really good at when she gets questions, walking them through it and then bouncing it back to them so they feel ownership. So there's a lot of it is having them take ownership of what it's doing for their business in a positive way. Like our coffee shops, I would say typically do have a high turnover, but we do not hear from them because it's such a machine at this point that they know, like, here's the training video for my new employee. The code is posted at the register at the coffee shop. It's posted all over at the distillers. And then if they need anything, they know who to go to and they know where to log in and ask a question.
Yeah, I think everything that Emily and Caitlin have touched on is awesome. One thing that has worked for us, and I mean, our team currently is 10 people, so it's not like we have a large team, and our marketing team is just 4. And when I said Luke's the one that's doing all the partnership side of these passes, Luke's getting on the phone with people at any time and he's actually talking to them. We found that email like just does not work for us. We need to just straight to in-person talking. He gets on the phone with them and it's like, this is what you need from us and this is what we need from you. And that form of communication has worked best for us. But there have been times where I get emails of like, this person did not find their code at this place. And then it's just me getting in touch with that customer and being like, hey, your code is this. And then that's like a red flag for me of like, hey, Luke, this restaurant might not know this. Can you give them a call and check in, see if everything's okay? And we do kind of make it a priority to check in as the months go along to just be like, hey, just so you know, this pass initiative still exists. Let us know if you need anything, new table tents, new signage. So that's worked for us as well.
All good ideas and great points. Thank you guys for answering that. And like really thorough, like thinking through a partner outreach. So kudos to you guys on that, because I know when I was at a DMO, that was always a hard thing, was making sure partners felt included and aware and successful. And I think like one of the strengths of Banwango is it gives you an avenue to accomplish those things, but it's definitely not no work, which is like something that I feel like I've been quoted saying before. So how do you guys, like what does staff time look like for your organization in terms of like managing or building Banwango passes? Can you speak a little bit to like how your organization distributes workload for that, or what you found to be successful when you're building or maintaining a pass in terms of staff time?
I can start. Yeah, so like I mentioned, we have a 4-person marketing team. And with every single pass, we've kind of done the structure of one person on the team is the point person, the one communicating on Asana with the Banwango team. But everyone else does have a play in it. Luke's our partnership person. He's the one onboarding businesses, pitching to businesses. Megan, who's our creative manager on our team, she's designing all of our pass assets, designing any of the creative that we're going to use for advertising. And then our director of marketing, she's overseeing it all and making sure that we have the tools that we need to be successful in order to make the pass successful. And in terms of time, I can't really put like a concrete number to it, but from the brainstorm process to when you're passing over everything to Banwango, your merchant lists, your pass assets, I'd say maybe like 3 weeks or so from the brainstorm to, hey, Banwango, here's everything you need. That's on top of working on all of our other projects. So it's not just like, hey, we're only working on this Banwango pass. But because we've been able to split apart the responsibilities, it's made building a pass a lot more manageable. And we've never been like pressed on time with Banwango too. Like they've been very flexible with us in terms of, hey, we want this by this time. Can you make it happen? And the answer has never been no. So.
For us, it's a little bit different because we have bigger teams, and then there are 3 teams that touch the bandwango process in general. We have our product development team, which is on our destination experience team. And so from a brainstorm perspective, it would be that team sort of leading it with my team and then our content team. From there, our content team would write anything that we needed. Destination experience would be the outreach for current partners. And then our partnership team, new partner, her name's Abby. So Olivia's counterpart internally would then be reaching out to any non-partners that we wanted to target for a specific pass. I would say typically, from start to finish, anywhere from 2 weeks to 4 weeks. So I guess 3 weeks was a good baseline because if they're all already partners and it's more of that like free experiential trail, that's a much faster turnaround than a paid attractions pass where you have to integrate with their system and make sure that we don't have any time tickets that need to be done. But really focusing up front, like brainstorm right into execution, and then sort of after we get the execution mapped out, is this possible? Can we make this happen? Then we would move into development. So it would be 2 to 4 weeks probably.
Cool. So I want to talk for a second, Demi, about your passes really match, I feel like, the Visit Eau Claire brand personality. And on our team, it's always like a thrill to see when people are like really kind of take that extra step. Like I remember when the horseradish hop launched, I messaged Benny Vitale, shout out Benny. I was like, can I get one of these t-shirts? Because I really want one. So Demi, can you talk about just like how you guys made that happen? It seems like there's really a focus in y'all's team, making sure the personality like shines through. So do you just want to talk a little bit about like that general concept?
Yeah, you bet. So last September is when we hired on our creative manager on our team, and that's Megan. And so Megan's responsible for all our photography, videography, and graphics, no matter whatever the project is. And so when we look at the brainstorm process, when we get together as a marketing team, we talk about like, hey, which partners do we want involved? How do we want this to look? A key part of that discussion is what do we want the pass overall feel to be? And each pass to us, we want to have its own brand identity while also falling under that Visit Eau Claire brand as well. And from that brainstorm discussion, Megan just does a really, really great job of taking that and creating something for you to look at that completely matches that. And it's not necessarily that she's only using fonts and colors from our brand guide. As you can see, none of our passes have looked the same. She really just takes that overall fun, quirky tone that Visit Eau Claire has in general and tries to infuse it into all of our passes. And honestly, she does a fantastic job at it. And I think this is going to sound a little bit cliche, cheesy, but I think why we've been successful with that stuff is we're not afraid to have a little bit of fun with our work. Like to an extent, everything, you have to be serious to get a job done, but that doesn't mean you can't have fun while you're doing it. So like with the Eau Claire Essentials video that we're doing, like us actually taking a canoe out to the water, does that sound like a normal work day for everyone? No, but the video that she's working on, it's honestly hilarious. Luke actually fell out of the canoe into the water. And that's what kind of sets us apart from some of the other stuff you'll see. And like when the curd crawl video came out, I remember Vinny was like, I'm chatting this to all like our bandwango staff or whatever. And I was like, okay, like this got someone's attention. And the person in the video is Megan's husband. They literally just like did that during the workday. So always be fun. Don't take things too seriously and try something different. Don't be afraid to.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I think like when I speak at conferences, sometimes when people are like asking like, well, how do we, manage content, or like I did a big presentation on social media a few months back in Texas, and one of the things that I recommended was get out of your office, like schedule one day every month where you're just like out in the community and you're either specifically filming something or maybe you're just like having a day, because it is one of those things, like UGC will get you so far, but brand voice and that kind of thing, like taking extra time to make that special, like it always pays off, even even if it feels like, why are we out in a canoe today? So I think that those are all really good points to me. Caitlin, feel free to add on to that, but I also want to ask you, the distillery trail, when it launched, the PR behind that seemed like it really kind of took off for you guys. And PR is something I'm passionate about, because that's like what I studied, and I still believe it's such a powerful engine for getting the word out about fun and exciting things. So was it an accident that the PR kind of went as quickly or as well as it did? And what can you tell us about y'all's strategy for that activation and why it went so well?
I think sometimes when things are that successful, there's always a tiny bit that's not accidental but surprising. But before the distillery trail, we had never done a launch party. And so right before holiday, so I want to say this was like the end of October, maybe, we had the idea to do a launch party. And then everyone went out, for Thanksgiving, Christmas, PCMA. And so we were like, okay, well, we've committed to this launch party. How do we make it happen? At the same time, we had a new PR person start who is absolutely amazing. And so she really did a ton of work ahead of time in tandem with, our social media manager and myself sort of putting together the launch party as well. So what she did was really just an initial brainstorming session with everyone on the team to see like what timely events or news are happening that we could connect it to. Is it National Something Month? So we actually launched it in January, and there was a little bit of internal conversation, like, do we wait until after dry January or do we still go in January? And we went, but then it gave us a little bit of extra time after the initial buzz to then say, like, dry January is over and the pass wasn't as new anymore, but it was still a new way to spin it. And then, once we were able to once we actually launched it, she sent out the press release. So she does targeted media outreach. It's distributed in a very targeted way, locally, regionally, and nationally, and then with targeted national writers. She then goes to media, schedules interviews, looks for opportunities for media coverage in general. Again, is it national? I don't know, Distiller Month? Is it like National Have a Drink Day, like those things she really, really launches in on. And then with the distillery trail, and specifically in 30 days, we had over 26 stories and over 288 million impressions. We then reached out to our partners to have them share the news. So not just the ones on the trail, but the ones who are sort of trail adjacent. So all of the trail partners for distillery have cocktails, do they have food trucks that they partner with because they don't have a kitchen? So then we're reaching out to them. And then from there, I think we worked just really closely as a team, and we made sure that everything everyone was doing was very cohesive. We all come from very different backgrounds. Meg Burno, our social media and content manager, has always been in tourism. And then, Leah Berger, our PR manager, came from Alexandria, but she's also been in other industries. Our CMO and I come from retail. And so we have like a lot of different ways that we approach something. And then we tie it and we make sure it's really cohesive across every channel, and the messaging is matched but translated. And then we all go out and do it.
Yeah, that strategy from start to finish obviously really paid off. Would love to do a case study on the PR part of that. So I'll have to reach out later. But, I want to also just talk really quickly before we wrap up here about how organizational goals kind of factor into your pass builds. So you guys both have talked about kind of like brainstorming and working together across departments. Can you both speak a little bit to like how in your organization maybe you're viewing pass builds as like a mechanism to accomplish one of your organization's goals, or even just like kind of a core thing to think about as each year you're putting your media plans together or your various campaigns together? How does Bandwango kind of factor into that for each of you guys?
I just said this very early on when I first started, but like our main goal with any of our Bandwango passes that we've launched, and I can confidently say any future passes that we'll launch, again, our goal is to just provide value to our partners and our community. And in terms of our like organizational goals, I think a few that Bandwango just really fits into a few of our KPIs. We're really big with website visits. Web traffic for us is very important. And with every single pass, those are new opportunities for us to drive people to our website to not only visit the landing page for the pass itself, but to explore some of the other parts of Eau Claire and other areas in our website as well. But apart from that, it goes back to partner referrals. If people are visiting our partners' websites at the end of the day, that's a huge win for us because we want them to actually go there, pull their wallets out, spend their money, and hopefully come back someday too.
Yeah, to Demi's point, I think at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we are showcasing the best that we have to offer and giving our partners, what they feel is way more than what they paid for. I think it also goes back into building the emotional connection with your city, whether it's with residents or visitors. And I just lost a thought, but it was to your whole point. Yes, so how it fits in sort of organizationally, is with our Live Forward campaign, we make sure that visitors and locals can see sort of what our personas are, and then make the trails fit into those. And with that, we've had a ton of partner referrals from it. We've had partners join just to be on the coffee trail. I would say that about the distillery trail, but they were all already partners before we built it. So they've all been really, really happy with it. And the other thing is Columbus is really focused on community. So if you live in a place that's like that, one of the best things that I've seen come out of our trails is sort of our bigger, more well-known distillers getting so excited about the amount of check-ins that our smaller, more unknown distillers are getting. And I just love that everyone's so supportive and they're not like, well, they're getting more check-ins than me. It's like, look, I am nationwide. I've won awards for my, my drinks. I am so happy to elevate another Columbus brand just because I'm associated with them. And so we really lean on that in our marketing, and in our efforts, and organizationally helps elevate the partnership team, and the destination experience team.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, wrapping up here, what is one other thing that you've seen a Bandwango client do that has inspired you, or maybe just like kind of an off the wall idea you had? One of my favorite examples is Kyle from Visit Indiana is a Stranger Things fan and really wants to make a Stranger Things trail in Visit Indiana. So I always think about that as like something that's kind of inspiring to me, is like those ideas are out there. So are there any like unique inspired ideas that you've had on your team that you just haven't had a chance to build yet, or maybe that a different client has done that you're like, oh, that was really cool?
When I was prepping for this presentation, I was like, well, maybe I should talk about what like inspired us to get Bandwango, because it really like came out of nowhere. We actually were on like our quarterly crowd riff call with our customer success manager, and he was like showing us different galleries as inspiration, different sites. And I believe it was Visit Indy that he pulled up, and it was one of their like dog trails, so like places to go with your dog. I'm a dog mom myself, so immediately I'm like, okay, like this is it, like cool, this is awesome. And I see our director of marketing is on the call, and I see her like looking at this. She's like, wait, what is this? Like, how, like, okay, tell us about this. And then Evan gave us a little spiel about Bandwango, and we were like, okay, like this sounds like something we might need. And literally, I think it was that week, we're on a call with Taylor. He's giving us a demo, and we're like, yep, sold. And here we are.
That's a really cool one. One of the ideas that we have that we haven't had a chance to build yet, but it was because of a visit we had with a vendor who hadn't traveled much. She was new to the tourism industry, and so I'm giving them like a tour around the city. We're going to all these different restaurants, and she goes, I really thought I was going to come here and have nothing but steak and potatoes. Like I heard Ohio, and I was like, oh, there's going to be nothing there. She's like, but I haven't had any American food. And she's like, I never knew this about Columbus. And we're such a diverse city. Like we're so representative of the country as a whole, just in our city, that we had the idea to do, I think it was Grand Rapids that did like a restaurant week type of pass. But do that where you're sort of eating around the world in Columbus, so that there's like a different type of cuisine, so that you can try a whole bunch of other things. One of our partners during COVID actually did something called a trust fall delivery. And so you would pay per person, and she would just go order from a restaurant. It was different every time, and then she would deliver it. And so it was her way of like still sustaining her business and supporting partners. And so marrying those two ideas, I think, would be so cool and really show how unique and diverse Columbus is, because so many people just don't know that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I am definitely spoiled because Houston, I think, has some amazing food. So if you're ever in the area, give me a shout. I'll give you some recommendations. But thank you both for sharing those ideas and just everything else on the call. I think this has been super helpful to everybody who tuned in. For those of you who have tuned in, make sure you follow Experience Columbus and visit Eau Claire so you can see all the other amazing things that they are doing. And thank you again, Demi and Caitlin, for being part of this today. For all of you who are tuning in, hopefully you are signed up to Bandwango's monthly newsletters, so you're getting alerts like this, but you can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel to see more content like this. For those of you who ask, the recording is emailed out usually about 2 hours after this wraps. And then you can find it tomorrow on our YouTube channel if you want to forward it on to anyone else. So thank you both again for tuning in. Thank you, everyone, for a wonderful Q&A and chat, and for listening to what Demi and Caitlin had to say. So thank you all, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.